And there is Frank Bruno claiming that Oleksandr Usyk would not have survived in his era, okay? He said, quote, I don't think in my era he would have got this far. He wouldn't have stood a chance with the likes of Lennox Lewis. They're too big heavyweights for him. Naturally big guys, you know? And let me counterpunch. I'll say this. I don't really like to talk about the era comparison because it's unfair because we'll never know. It's all fantasy. I get it, you know. But just for shits and giggles, let's go ahead and talk about it. First of all, Frank Bruno, I think he would beat you. You say in my era, but let's talk about you. You know what I mean? Did you beat Lennox Lewis? Did you beat Mike Tyson? Did you fight Rennie Bowe? You know, Holyfield. You know, those guys were in that era. Okay, and needless to say, Frank Bruno was loved in the UK, of course, por supuesto, but at the same time, was he the best? No. He reminds me more of like Floyd Patterson. Floyd Patterson was admired and liked and loved and appreciated, but he wasn't the best fighter. He got beat by a lot of people, just like Frank did, you know, in their respected eras. And it's just almost like taking him and throwing his ass back there and fighting Sonny Liston and Ali and them. How far do you think you would go, Frank? Respectfully. But seriously, how far do you think Frank would have went in the 60s or the 70s fighting Norton and Shavers and Foreman? Come on. You know, those are some dangerous fights. So talking about Oleksandr Usyk, I think it's a little shade that he's throwing at Usyk a bit because Sam's saying, well, you know, you had Lennox Lewis. Well, let's talk about Lennox Lewis for a while. Lennox Lewis fighting Oleksandr Usyk would be a very good fight because Lennox is just big and he committed to his punches. The dude could punch, but he also put punches together. He was a big man that knew how to put big punches together. You know, combinations that'll take your head off. Ask Hasim Rahman, right? Ask Mike Tyson. Ask a lot of these guys that got caught by Lennox Lewis. You know what I'm saying? But at the same time, you know, Lennox would have had problems with guys that moved and could box like that. See, the only problem is we don't have anybody comparable to Usyk. He never fought Chris Bird. Chris Bird was a problem for a lot of people, you know, until he came up against, you know, like legendary fighters like Ika Barabucci. When I mean legendary, I mean guys that never lost a professional fight, you know, and you know, just very rare opponents. But, you know, Lennox Lewis did not fight Chris Bird. Okay, so Chris Bird would probably be, you know, a southpaw, tricky, you know, hand speed, you know, a lot of different angles. You know, that would probably be that guy. You see what I mean? But then we wouldn't have that guy. So it's unfair to say, oh, Usyk wouldn't have done anything back then. I think he would have. I think he just had the know-how to do these guys in. And remember, people, when you hear and heard so many times before Tyson Fury fought Oleksandr Usyk, he called him the little rabbit. Everyone's perception was so warped because of their idea, again, perception of Oleksandr Usyk's size. He's too small. He can't hurt Tyson. Tyson's been in there with Wilder. He can take Usyk's punches. You know what I mean? Usyk can't do anything to stop Tyson Fury from beating him up and running him slap, spark over. And what happened? It didn't happen anything like we thought. He was the aggressor. He came towards Tyson Fury. He was the one that put Tyson Fury on his back foot and eventually set up the shots that hurt him and should have stopped him. Okay, so don't tell me about, oh, well, he couldn't handle guys like Lennox Lewis because of the size. I'm sick of size being a reason that Oleksandr Usyk can't win fights because he does it each and every time. You're dealing with somebody 250 pounds, you know, Joshua was 250 something, Dubois was 250 something, Tyson was 260 something or something like that, right? These guys were bigger than him. Yeah. But that didn't mean he had no business being in the ring with them. You know, in fact, he ended up defeating them. So I think what Frank's saying, oh, he wouldn't have lasted in my era. Well, first of all, Frank, he would beat you. But then those other guys, you know, like, hey, like Lennox Lewis. Lennox Lewis would probably be a good fight, and I'm not really sure who would win that fight. But I can tell you this: it wouldn't be like Lennox Lewis fighting someone like Mike Tyson or David Tua. You see what I mean? This would be a very different fight. Now, to be fair, Usyk does get hit a lot, and you know, will that jackpot be when Lennox Lewis overextends that right hand when he sets that jab up to set up a right hand? You know what I mean? When he throws that hand cannon, will Usyk be at the receiving end? Because we've seen Usyk get hit, and he's been rocked. He was rocked against the Joshua fight in the first fight and the second fight, to be fair, and against Tyson Fury. He's taken shots. He takes punishment. So I think the question you need to ask yourself is not could he last in any era? How could he deal with the punches from Lennox Lewis? And how does Lennox Lewis's punches compare to someone like Tyson Fury's, or better yet, Anthony Joshua's, which is a power puncher, or yet Danny Dubois that was able to catch Oleksandr Usyk as well? He's taken shots from all three of those guys, and those guys, AJ and Danny Dubois, are known to knock your face off. But you guys tell me what you think of Frank Bruno claiming that Oleksandr Usyk wouldn't have lasted in his era. Of course, please subscribe. And you guys been Counterpunch.